Y'all, J Base Phoenix here. Just me this time. John went back home. He was just here overnight. He's a friend from college. Sorry, I didn't really introduce him like that before. I don't know if I did. Um, so yesterday I forgot to upload the VOD to YouTube. So I'm gonna do that after this stream, and also upload today's to YouTube. But we're back with more Descended Awakening. When we last left off, we had just had a JoJo's moment in this bank robbery, um, and it had just finished. I can't thank you all enough, Weaver says, now having come out of the mind control. You best believe the Alpha Core will be hearing about all of you. Thank you again. Just doing our jobs, Chief, Lux says. With that, the heroes walk away from the scene as the Alpha Core trucks show up to take the Advocate, Volcon, and Aura Ray away. That's difficult to say. Well, that was successful, Tech says. I think we make a pretty darn good team, Anthroman says with a smile. For a team thrown together, it wasn't bad, Ardentia comments. Too bad about the one hostage, though. A brief moment of silence between the four. So, none of you. Yo, what up, the homie Jay? Thanks for coming to the stream. So, none of you are going to tell me how Tech snapped out of it? Lux asks. The other three shake their heads. Kendra falls out of the chamber on her knees. Oh my god, Kendra got the serum. You kind of saw this coming when, at the end of the last chapter, she was in front of Haven City Hospital. Why does everyone fall out the same way? Daichi asks, sighing. Would you kindly stand, Miss Perry? We'd like to further test you to see what your abilities are. Kendra doesn't respond. She plants her palms on the floor, panting. She looks up at Dr. Daichi, whose face changes from curiosity to concern. Kendra's sclera, again, that's the white part of the eye. Everybody has those. Sclera have completely turned black. Well, now it's not white. Her pupils appear to have disappeared, and her irises are white. I'd rather. They they all fall out the same way on their palms and knees, breathing heavy. They did just go through some sort of pain, so yeah. Uh, I'd rather figure that out on my own, she says. Her irises change from white to orange, and an enormous wave of flames shoot from her hands at Daichi and Addison, who both. Yeah, of the chamber, I know what you meant. Uh, who both take cover behind the electric panel. Kendra stands, shocked at what she just did, and her left iris changes to blue. Daddy in the room. Hey, Dad. Um, Kendra stands. Y'all just converse. Thank you all for coming to the stream today. Uh, Kendra stands shocked at what she just did, and her left iris changes to blue. She puts her she puts out her left hand, and water shoots from it, dousing some of the flames. Security, Daichi says over a communication watch. It's something they use on their wrists, and it's kind of like a walkie-talkie, kind of, but he doesn't really have to press a button. Well, he should. Security, he says over communication watch. Through the door burst armored guards armed with tranquilizers and tasers. Leading them is the assistant that was in Saber Eye's operating room, the one with two fully cybernetic arms, Artillery. Also known as Daiichi's bodyguard. He points at Kendra, and the guards aim at her. No, she shouts. As they pull their triggers, both of her irises change from orange and blue to white, and a forceful blast of wind shoots from her hands, knocking the tranquilizer darts and tasers back toward the guards, knocking them out and tasing them. Artillery looks back at the guards and shakes his head. Useless, he says with a raspy voice. So he's got like a respirator, kind of like Darth Vader, over his nose and mouth. Because the reason, and I don't think I get into his backstory in this book, but he was involved in like a grenade explosion on a mission with one of the guards of the Alpha Corps. You remember this part? You read this? Yeah. Wait, you do? I don't. Whoa. Okay, cool. Um, he was involved in a grenade explosion that blew off his arms and tore up his whole everything. Um, Useless, he says with a raspy voice. His cybernetic arms transform into two blades as he runs at her. So his arms are able to transform into weapons within his like armory, or artillery, because his name is Artillery. Um, yes, indeed, yes. Uh, Kendra's irises change from white to green as she closes her eyes and puts her arms up in front of her face out of fear. When she does this, the floor shifts and juts up, forming a pillar, and smashes Artillery between itself and the ceiling. Kendra opens her eyes to peek at what just happened. She looks at the pillar and waves her hands to lower it. Artillery groaning on the way down. She runs past Artillery's limp body and escapes. Daichi and Addison peek over the panel to look at the aftermath. Daichi taps at his watch. A sigh. We've got another runner. An elemental. Oh, that was the end of chapter 11. I could have finished that out yesterday, but I didn't want to keep John here. So well, John, he stayed, but I didn't want to keep him streaming with me for forever. But now we're on chapter 12. Page 155. We are almost looking at the pages. I think we're almost halfway through the book. Out of 321, what's half of 321? 160? Around 160. So yeah, we're about halfway. Chapter 12. Ardentia stands at Seismic's room door. Seismic looks up from the book he's reading and sits up on his bed. Hey, Ardentia says, you okay? Yeah, I'm good, he says, moving to the edge of the bed. He looks down at the floor. In response, she sits down next to him. She stares at him, and he knows she's staring. I know that look, John. What's on your mind? She asks. Nothing, Leia. Seismic lies. She says nothing in response, still staring at him. He caves and looks at her. It's just, you think I was too hard on the guy? Well, I think you were both being hard on each other. Do you think he was right when he said I shouldn't be the leader? He asks. Ardentia stands up and waves for him to follow her. He hesitates. Come on, I want to show you something, she says. They walk into the common area where the rest are interacting with each other. Icecap, with Sina at his side, plays air hockey against Sonaro Sonaro with Charge at his side. Vital and Typhus sit at the bar with Ash behind the counter. He places his palms on the counter, shifting some of his body weight to his arms. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what are Seismic powers? You can't tell by the name. It's fine. What's up, Gooden? I think, is that how you pronounce it? Gooden or Gooden? Seismic's powers are, I call it terrakinesis. He's able to manipulate whatever planet he's on, the natural makeup of the planet. So since he's on Earth, he can control the Earth. So he's an Earthbender. Let's call it that, if that's easier for you to understand. What are you two be having? Ash asked the two. I'll just have a beer and a whiskey for my friend, Vital responds. Typhus gives him a look. Because I'm Irish, you ask, Typhus says. Vital chuckles. Sorry, guys. Since everyone here isn't over 21, the strongest thing we have is soda, Ash says. Yeah, I don't know why I asked a 17-year-old for an alcoholic beverage, Vital says, rubbing his chin. But what do I know? You might have a secret stash. You know what they say about sheltered people. Humor me, Ash challenges. Just that they're known to be secretly wild, at least for a little while, Vital explains. And since you just, well, escaped the Alpha Corps, I'd assume you've already begun. Releasing the Phoenix, so to speak. Ash smiles and scoffs. Gotta get to know me first, Chris. Seismic smiles, looking around at the people he leads. Ardentia puts a hand on his shoulder. You see how happy they are, she asks. They can be themselves with others like them and maintain their happiness through your leadership. They look up to you. Well, us. Seismic shoots her a look. Are you second Stanley? Sure. Yeah, I know what you meant, Stanley, but uh, Kappa. Sure, sure. I'm building. Well, I've already built my own superhero universe, so to speak, with all the everything interacting. uh, Angels, demons, superheroes, villains, gods. I said angels, aliens. All of them. They're all within the same story. Yeah, it's cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's cool. Thank you. Um, Seismic shoots her a look. I mean, common. Come on, you can do so easy. Wait, what? Wait, I don't know what you mean by that. You see how happy they are? She asks. They can be themselves with others like them. And oh, I said that. I mean, I did find Josh and Mila, and with my help, they did get this place built. So, she continues. I think you should forgive him. Maybe he just needs guidance. Seismic looks at the ground deep in thought. Plus, he kicks ass. He kicked my ass. What? Under the influence of mind or mouth, rather, control guy, Ardentia finishes. Then, with his help, we were able to apprehend the bank robbers, which is why none of you needed to come. Um, you can write Big Superhero World or something? Uh, yeah, I kind of already have. I mean, this is just the first book. I'm reading the unedited version, but I have I think it's 7 completed so far in a novel series. I'm currently working on the 8th while I'm collaborating with an editor to get this first book out. So yeah, I kind of already have. I have 260 something characters right now. So yeah. Ardentia finishes. Then, with his help, we were able to apprehend the bank robbers, which is why none of you needed to come. Yeah. Um, who exactly are you trying to cheer up here? Seismic asks. I forget, Ardentia kids. Seismic fixes his gaze on Icecap. I guess having a super genius on the team to design this place also helped, he says, half jokingly. The giant television in their living room is connected to the artificial intelligence, created by none other than Icecap, like most of the Ark base. The screen blares, letting the heroes know that an emergency is occurring. I don't use the AI as much as I think I should with the Ark base. Um, but here it's used. I kind of just use it whenever I think it's important for these heroes to go to wherever the danger is. Um, might want to work on that. Emergency reported on 24th Street, the AI informs. Icecap runs to the screen, taps at it, and zooms in. What the hell? What is it? Vital asks. The screen shows a report written by a bystander in the registered hero app. See how important that is, the app? Some crazy chick, he replies. He turns to face Seismic. We should only need a few of us, right? I mean, there are probably some people already headed there. We can't assume there are. Think about it. How many superpowered people have you seen protecting others besides us? Seismic asks. Good point. Plus, it's good team building. Everyone in the room faces Seismic now. He looks at their faces. All right, then. Let's move. What do you think they're doing now? Ardentia and the rest, Lux asks Tech. I don't know. You go ask, Tech says. Lux looks at her with disbelief. You have a superpower? I'm suck? No, you don't suck, man. Vital is my boy, 10 out of 10 character. I'm glad you think so. I'm not going to spoil anything for anything that happens to any character. But I'm glad you think. You also liked him because you think he was one of the best drawings. That's why you like him. Where was I? I don't know. We could go ask Tech says. Lux looks at her with disbelief. Not happening. John's a dick, Lux says. Why don't we just agree that you were both being kind of childish and make out? Tech suggests, laughing. Lux smiles, but it fades when they both see citizens running toward them away from something. She's crazy, someone shouts. Someone is in their car driving towards the direction the people are running from. Tech juts out her hand and causes the car to shut down. The driver slaps his steering wheel in anger. They both run to the driver and Tech snaps, turning his car back on. She taps on the window and the driver rolls it down with a look of shock and confusion across his face. So, since his car, can I buy that book on Google Play? Um, right now, I only have it through Kindle. So, if you have an iPhone, you can't buy it through the Kindle app. Um, Something with Apple's terms of services. But if you buy it on Amazon, you're able to read it through any Kindle app, including on the computer. But it is available for pre-order right now on Amazon. To answer your question, don't do my boy. Don't do nothing to my. Don't you do nothing to my boy Vital. I'm not gonna say anything to that, Jay. I'm just gonna keep reading. Uh, so because this driver, uh, his car is a little more advanced, has more technology to it. She's able to shut it down with like an EMP pulse. Um, so that's why she was able to turn it off and then turn it back on with her technopath powers. What the hell do you want? The driver asks. Sir, we're both registered heroes. We're detecting danger coming from the direction you're driving towards. We need you to turn around and head the other way, Tech explains. Heroes, huh? The driver says. He pulls out his phone. What are your names? Tech and Lux, she replies. Lux is anxiously looking off in the distance of fleeing citizens. The man taps at his phone. Tech and Lux. Nah, I don't. No, wait. Here you are. All right, I'll head the other way. Thanks for the heads up, guys. He waves and pulls a U-turn and drives out of there. I just included that scene to show that, they care about all the citizens of Haven, not just stopping the villain. Lux and Tech jog toward the danger and they see Kendra, one eye white, the other green. Her legs are covered in a whirlwind and it's causing her to float. With one hand, she's controlling the earth, flipping cars over and tearing up the street. Lux's eyes go wide. No, that's... You know this person? Tech interrupts. Yeah, that's my friend. The one that said she loved me, Lux says. Guess he dodged the bullet, Tech says, covering her eyes from the wind with an arm. The wind ends up blowing her hair out of her face, revealing a scarred eye on her face. Lux sees it, but doesn't say anything. So this is the scar that, back in her backstory, that blinded her in her left eye. But it becomes something else later that actually helps her. For right now, she's still blind in this eye and it's scarred up and everything. But she has it covered over her face. Not yet, he says. And this is much worse than a bullet. On the other side of Kendra, Lux sees Tucker and Ava, who are Tucker's his closest friend. Ava is Tucker's girlfriend. Who are looking at Kendra cause further destruction. What are they doing here? Lux says to himself. Upon closer inspection, Lux sees that they're both wearing hero suits. I don't know if I should say superhero. That's implied, but I think DC and Marvel share like the rights to the word superhero or something, which is why anime like One Punch Man and My Hero don't use the word superhero and just used hero, because you can't have a copyright on a plain word like hero. Tucker in green and white, Ava in red and blue. Kendra turns and sees Tucker and Ava. Tucker walks up to her, unbothered by the wind. Hey, you want to stop this? He asks. Tucker, she says, and fixes her gaze on Ava. No one deserves to be in a happy relationship. She tears a rock from the ground and throws it at Ava. Tucker turns to block it from hitting Ava, but he's too late. The rock stops in front of Ava for a split second before it bursts into hundreds of smaller rocks. What the hell? Lux says. He turns back to Tech and motions for her to follow him. Come on, let's get her attention. Kendra frowns. You received the serum as well? She turns her gaze to Tucker. Well, let's hope he didn't. Tucker now stands in front of Ava and holds her hand. Kendra, using her powers, grabs another rock from the ground and hurls it at Tucker. He closes his eyes and it phases through both him and Ava. Of course, Kendra says. Yo, Ken, Lux shouts. She turns to her side, and Lux and Tech walk up to Tucker and Ava. You want to turn that tornado thing you got going on off? Uh, Tornado thing you got going off? Kendra glares at him before she slowly closes her eyes and has her whirlwind lower her to the ground. Both her irises change to white as she looks at Tech. Who the hell is this? Hi, Tech says. First off, what the shit are you thinking? Lux yells. He turns to Tucker and Ava and points aggressively at them. And don't get me started on you two. You told me you weren't going to get the serum, dick. And I said I couldn't leave Ava behind. But she changed her mind about the serum, Tuck explains. Lux opens his mouth to speak again, but closes it and turns back to Kendra. Kendra, what the hell? Jay, Kendra says. Lux. I was angry and hurt. You rejected me after I opened myself up to you, Kendra explains. I made a rash decision and got the serum. Once the process was over, I thought you'd accept me, but something in me snapped. Not bad, thank you. Is it Guden or Gooden? I don't know how to pronounce. I don't want to keep pronouncing it wrong, but thank you. Guess you could say she went elemental, Tucker says. They all turn to look at him. Ava punches him in the shoulder. Tech pulls Lux close to whisper in his ear. Isn't it still protocol to arrest her? Kendra glares at Tech and both of her eyes change to orange. Before anything can happen, Sonaro, Charge, and the Seven show up behind Kendra. Yo, this the one? Seismic shouts. Yeah, Tucker replies. Alright, let's get her, Seismic says. Kendra closes both of her eyes and turns around, opening them, revealing them both to be blue. She opens her palms and a small tidal wave shoots out, washing the heroes back a block. Kendra turns her face so Lux sees it. That was a bad pun, Tucker. But that is her villain name. Elemental. ELE-MENTAL. That's her villain name. Her villain name is a pun. Kendra turns her face so Lux sees it before she forms the whirlwind around her legs again and flies off, escaping. They all lift their heads and follow her with their eyes. Yeah, shit, Tucker says. Lux turns back to Tucker again. Oh, I know, lol. Yeah, yep, her villain name is a pun. Think about it, a lot of the hero names, yeah, it's like Artillery, exactly. Maybe I should just rename everybody after some sort of pun. That'd be fun. Lux turns back to Tucker again. You know, although I'm still mad at you, we could start a team of our own. Kind of exciting now that I think about it. Ken could be a part of it too. Tucker rubs the back of his neck and looks at the ground. Sorry, bud. Ava had the idea that me and her would just be a duo. Ava plucks him. I told you to call me Sentry in public. And then there's a note. Ava Cruz will now be referred to as Sentry, her superhero name. Sentry, I got the name Sentry from the word centripetal, like centripetal force. And her whole thing is like vectors and stopping things in motion and stuff like that. So, Sentry, Lux asks. Oh, and I keep doing this. I'm explaining stuff before I get to it in the book. And I have the book explain it anyway. Yeah, we tested her powers on our own a little, and apparently she can control vectors. In simpler terms, the direction and speed of something. Sentry is short for centripetal. Yeah. Lux sighs. Mine is Eidolon. Thanks for asking, Tucker says. It means ghost or something spectral. And then at the bottom I have another note. Tucker Howard will now be referred to as Eidolon, his superhero name. What was that? Yeah. Where'd you both get the get-ups, Eidolon? Lux asks. Eidolon smirks and looks at Sentry before looking back at Lux. Friend of Ava's. Dude named Charlie, he answers. Lux and Tech exchange looks. They both know they're thinking of the same Charlie at the bank robbery, but shrug off the thought knowing that there were probably several people in the city that went by that name. But it is that exact same Charlie. So Charlie was dating the bank robber, the advocate, and he also, ironically, makes superhero or hero costumes, and that's how they got theirs. Sonaro, Charge, and the seven walk up now wet because they were just washed away by a wave. Was that a friend of yours? Seismic asks Lux directly. Still is, he replies. And because of that, you let her go? Seismic questions. No, I actually didn't expect her to run, Lux explains. You should have apprehended her when she was calm, Ardentius suggests. I'm sorry, what does this have to do with you guys? The situation was handled before you got here, Lux says, glaring at Seismic, who now glares back. Let's go, Seismic says to the seven. He turns to Sonara and Charge. You two are still welcome. They look back at Tech, who shrugs. Actually, I think we'll stay with Roxy, Charge says. We will? Sonaro asks. Charge backhands him in the stomach. We will, he says, gasping for air. Tech smiles and the seven leave. There's a knock at Jackie's door. She looks to, it should be through, the peephole to see Isaac looking uneasy. She slowly creaks the door open. Hey, hon, something wrong? So the only reason she opened the door was because she knew Isaac's mother. She kind of knew him through his mother. So I'm really sorry, Mrs. Jones, Isaac says. I'm not, Saber Eye says, grinning. He elongates his fingernails. Now if you'll come with us quietly, please. Jackie reaches into the drawer and pulls out a revolver and aims it at Saber Eye. Now why would you want bang? She shoots Saber Eye in the face. So she straight up just killed this man. The force from the bullet almost causes him to fall down the stairs, but he stabs his nails into the side of the house, holding him up. He looks from the sky back to Jackie as his face heals. But surprise, he has regeneration abilities. So he's like Wolverine. No, he's like Lady Deathstrike from Marvel. His nails elongate and have like they're made of metal, and he regenerates. He's a really old character of mine. I made him back in 6th grade, but I wanted to incorporate him like Ice Cap into into the Descended story. God damn it, he says. Isaac knocks the gun out of Jackie's hand, Jackie's shaking hand, and taps her on her forehead, knocking her out. So the move like Luke Cage does. He picks her up and puts her on his broad shoulder. They turn around and leave the empty house, closing the door behind them. Oh, wow, that was a short chapter. Chapter 13. We're on page 164, so I think we are officially more than halfway through it. Detro and May stroll up to Archaeos' cell, like before, and it is covered in shadow. May leans in and knocks on the glass. Yo, you in there? She asks. Silence. No sound of movement either. Detro steps forward and looks at May. Well, he has to be in here. He has the collar on. Not like he can escape. He looks back at the cell, right? Remember Saber Eye and how Ice Cap was your first character? Yeah, he was. Yep. Yep, he has a special place in my heart. Jethro stares into the darkness before he raises a hand to place against the glass. May grabs his arm. What are you doing? She asks. Trying to break him out? Don't worry, Jethro says, easing her worry. My glove setting is at its highest. It shouldn't have any effect. He places his purple high-tech glove against the glass. Archaeos opens his eye, and his eye is the only thing visible in the cell. Why do you wear those? Archaeos asks. Detro looks at the floor before he looks back up at Archaeos, making eye contact. Singular. Eye, because Archaeos has one giant eye. I was 9 years old, walking home from school one day, and I realized I forgot my house key. I knocked on the door, but no one answered, so I put my hands on the door to lean in, see if I could get a better look through the peephole, see if anyone was home. But the house collapsed from the force that came from my hands. Killed my family inside, Detro explains. He looks at May, who looks sad, but even though she's heard the story before. She puts her hands on his shoulder and rests her face on his hands. He looks at his palm, then closes his fist. Ever since that day, I've worn gloves to stop myself from hurting anyone again. He looks at May, who has her eyes closed but is smiling. Then I met May. She helped me overcome my fear of my power. She thought they could help me control, and when I wanted, enhance my power. They eventually gave me these special gloves that can enhance the amount of destruction that radiated from my hands. Silence before Archaeos speaks. What exactly is that ability? Disintegration. Archaeos steps forward face to face with Detro, but the only thing still visible in his hood is his eye and teeth. Archaeos removes a hand from his pocket and places it parallel with Detro's hand. May and Detro see that Archaeos' hand is red and scaly, like a dragon's. So this is actually a big moment for Archaeos. He's connecting with these humans, and he normally keeps his hands in his pockets at all times when he's fighting or doing whatever, because he has these like 6 orbs around him that morph and change and basically defend him with. He controls it with his mind. But in this moment, he removed his hand from his pocket to place on the glass and match it up with Detro's. So, can you give us any more information about the second invasion? May asks, being forward. May, Detro says. What? That's a little forward. Detro looks at Archaeos. There's only a piece of information. The only piece of information I have left is that I am to meet them in a park, so they can pick me up and leave, and we can leave. Archaeos says. How's that an invasion? May ask. Do you know if that's when they're beginning the invasion? Detro asks. I do not. Archaeos answers. I do not know that I am to escape this. I do know I am to escape this facility when they tell me. Asai and Celeste have been standing around the corner the entire time, taking in the information that Archaeos has revealed. Okay. Lux walks with the subjects on his block headed home. He looks at the window of his house and sees the light is off. He runs to the front door and the subjects follow. Lux looks on the outside of the building as he runs in and sees scratch marks. He grabs the doorknob and twists it, getting a sinking feeling in his gut when he realizes it's open. He looks around at the house and sees that nothing is out of place. Tech steps forward, placing a hand on Lux's shoulder. Check the house, see if she's here or if anyone left anything. She turns around and gives Lux a sympathetic look before she looks with Sonara in charge. Lux looks at the stand near the front door and notices the drawer is open. Then he moves his gaze to the gun on the floor beside the couch. He looks in the drawer and finds a note. Picks it up. To J. Jones. Yeah, we have your mother. You have a choice to make. Either make the smart decision and work for us, for her freedom, or make the unwise decision of coming to get her yourself. In either scenario, we suggest you bring only yourself, or your mother's life will come to a drawn-out and painful end. You choose. Your pal, Matt. Lux's hands begin shaking. Guys, he manages to squeeze out. The subjects all reconvene in the living room and stand in front of Lux, whose eyes glow green once more. They look down at the note in his hand, and it burns in his hands from the green energy. That knew also? Tech asks. They took my mother. Who? She asks. The Durante family. The mob family? Sonara exclaims. They threaten to kill her. I have 2 choices. Go there and work for them for my mother's freedom, or I fight them for it. Either way, he said to go alone, Lux says, his voice shaking. He looks at Tech directly in her eyes. I'm gonna need your help. The subjects look at each other and nod. Tech walks up to Lux and grabs his hand. We're here for you. Lux and the subjects walk up the front entrance of the Durante store. Tech throws her hood on. Charge gets some sparks going through her hands. Sonara adjusts his headphones. So, what's the plan? Tech whispers. Plan? Lux asks. You were just gonna go in there and just fight them. Kinda. Tech sighs, holding the bridge of her nose. Okay, did he mention at all who'd be here? I mean, he doesn't have any guards standing outside, so he could be alone? Lux shrugs. I just want to kick his ass. You can't expect to kick his ass if you can't get to him. Lux turns his head, looking at all 3 of them. That's why I need you guys to come in. That's where I need you guys to come in. But we don't even know if we can handle who's ever in there. Charge doubts. Well, Sonara reassures as he pats her on her shoulder. Let's find out. Tech creaks the front door open. It's pitch black in the room before the freezer, like always. Lux steps forward and opens his hand. A slight amount of energy floats above it, granting them a small amount of light. The lights of the dark room turn on and cause Lux and the subjects to stand ready to fight, each in their own little weird fighting stance, except Lux and Tech, who are actually trained. So, Ignitro says over a loudspeaker, you chose the unwise decision. Why do you have a loudspeaker for a room that's right next to the room you're in? Sonaro questions. My dad installed it, Ignitro snaps. But you're using it. He sighs over the loudspeaker as well. The three of you, go. Lux stands in front of the subjects with his chest puffed out. Isaac, Crosshair, and Saber-Eye enter. You're new, Lux says, frowning at Crosshair. His eyes and arms glow green, and he slightly turns his head toward the subjects behind him. Careful, guys. Remember, the blonde regenerates. Saber-Eye and Crosshair glance at each other with a knowing look, because Crosshair regenerates as well. Saber-Eye elongates his nails. Crosshair twists the gloves on his arms. Isaac punches his hands together to hype himself up. Charge has yellow electricity surge through her body, and Sonaro clears his throat. Tech stands straight up and holds a hand out at Crosshair. In turn, Crosshair turns to Saber-Eye and impales him with his arm blades on the wall. Saber-Eye cries out and blood spews from his stomach. What the shit, man? Yeah, I don't know what's going on, Crosshair explains. Your suit operates through advanced technology, and there's a chip in your brain that allows you to activate your gloves and hidden guns, Tech says. Lucky me. And you can control technology, I'm guessing, Crosshair asks her. Sure can. Saber-Eye strains to turn his head towards Isaac. It's up to you. Isaac walks toward the four, punching his hands again. Guys, I have to keep a hold on this guy. You guys can handle him, right? Tech asks. Easily, Lux says, as he charges Isaac, who sidesteps and elbows Lux in the back, knocking him to the ground. So not so easily. Sonaro screams at Isaac. The force from the scream doesn't knock him back, but it does cause him to drop to one knee and cover his ears. He has supersonic screaming. He stands back up and continues walking towards Sonaro, his ears still covered. Sonaro continues to scream, but Isaac walks through it and punches Sonaro in the stomach. A crack is heard as Isaac knocks the wind out of him. Charge shoots her electricity and it stuns Isaac for a second, but he continues to walk forward at Charge now. Lux slowly stands, slightly hunched over, and places a hand on his own back. He jogs to Isaac and punches him in the back with an energy fist. Isaac turns and grabs Lux by the face and throws him against the front door. Charge helps him back up. On my mark, aim and you shoot your electricity at my energy blast, Lux whispers to her. He holds his hand out and shoots. Mark. Charge, in response, shoots her electricity into the blast. It fuses, causing the blast to look yellow-green and has electricity jumping through it, and hits Isaac dead in the chest. This stops him. He stands, spazzing from the electricity before he drops to his knees, then his face. Sonaro groans as he rolls over onto his back. Check on him and help Tech hold those two off if you can, Lux commands. Charge puts her hands on her hips. Well, where are you going? I have to fight Mateo on my own. Lux punches down the door with a glowing fist. The freezer is no longer freezing. As a matter of fact, it's warm. As a matter of that fact, everything in the freezer has unthawed. Ignitro sits at his father's desk, his head resting in a hand, one under the table. Lux charges his arms and gets ready to fire a blast before Ignitro stands up with a bright orange glow coming from his hand. Lux, instead of shooting the blast, shields his eyes from the natural source of light. From that hand, Ignitro shoots a flame. Lux dodges the attack and the flame lands on the wall. He looks back at the wall and sees that it has been melted and formed a hole. That new? No. Remember, my father would have never let me let loose like this, he says, staring directly into the flame engulfing his hand. Lux furrows his brow. Speaking of, where is your father, he asks. Some fucker hired an assassin to kill him, Ignatio says, his face remaining static. Despite your language, you don't seem to be too broken up about it, Lux observes. Who would do something like that? Ignatio shrugs and smiles. My guess is an organization willing to see what my father built fall. A family like the Delacroix. Ignatio falsely ponders. I get the feeling you're not telling the truth. Would I lie to you, pal? Pal. The word triggers Lux's memory back to the note. The note Ignatio wrote so Lux could find his mother. Lux stands with his back straight up, but his head down. Even though Ignatio can't see his eyes, he can see energy flowing from them. I'm going to ask you this one time. He lifts his head. His eyes are no longer visible as the energy has covered them. Where is my mother? Come on, Lux, you know it couldn't be that easy. Ignatio shoots the flame. However, in one fluid motion, Lux absorbs it and it fuses with his green energy, turning all of it orange, and he shoots it back at Ignatio, who dodges the redirect. What the fuck? Ignatio says. Lux looks at his arms, still glowing orange, and shoots the energy at the desk, melting it. Lux stomps up to Ignatio and grabs him by the collar and stares at him. Ignatio opens his mouth and fire spits out, hitting Lux directly in the face. Lux lets Ignatio go and bends over and holds his face. Ignatio smirks, but it fades as Lux stands up. The flames dissipate from his face. Lux punches Ignatio in the gut, causing him to spit, then knees him in the chin, forcing him to slam his back up against the wall, where Lux beats him across the face. Right, left, up, left. Ignatio plops on his butt, bloodied. Lux grabs him by the collar again. Where? Ignatio speaks through the blood in his mouth. She's being driven to the riverbank. I'm gonna have her wearing cement boots. Lux slams his head against the wall, knocking him out. Lux, I can't hold them for much longer, Tex shouts from another room. Lux walks in and looks at Crosshair and Saber, who are still pinned against the wall. You all done in there? Lux nods and Tech releases the hold. Finally, I can, Crosshair says before Tech snaps, shutting down his suit and leaving the blades and Saber pinned. Damn it. Lux shoots the energy blast at both of their ankles, but the energy wraps around them like shackles, holding them in place. Just in case, he says. Where's your mother, Tech asks. We have to leave, now. They're taking her to the river. They're gonna drown her. Wouldn't joining the invasion be cool, bro? I'm so sorry. There's a break. I couldn't tell because the pages were split. Wouldn't be joining the invasion be cool, bro? Akin asks her twin brother while they stand in front of Detro, May, and Archaeos' cell. Azo shrugs as he continues sipping his large cup of soda. She rolls her eyes and they land on Detro and May. I mean, I'm so sick of being kept. We're almost treated like prisoners. You know that's not true, Emily. Look at him. Detro gestures to Archaeos. You, in the purple. Archaeos speaks up. It's Maroon. What reason do you have to betray your kind? Our kind never liked us. We grew up in an orphanage, Akin says. Hey, like me, May exclaims. We thought the day would come when we were finally adopted, Akin explains. No one wanted to adopt us because of all the trouble M got us into, Azo interrupts. So, Emily is Akin's real name, and you will find out her power. Her name is kind of a hint as to what her power is. But Azo is, his name is Ethan. His real name is Ethan. Azo is, they're twins. She would shit-talk people, and that would make them want to fight. But I'd step in and take the beating. And in order to stop them, she'd seduce them. One day, when we were kids, we both received superpowers, and she created a force field that protected us from a lot of kids she angered. She threatened to use her force field to expand it inside the brain of anyone who'd tell. She didn't want anyone to not adopt us because of our superpowers. Someone eventually did tell, though, and she did what she promised. The brain splattered all over our caretaker, who called 911 and described what M did. She could tell, She could tell it was her because Emily had her hand out to grow the force field. So she can't just do it with her mind, she has to do hand gestures. I think the 911 operator contacted the Alpha Corps and they came to pick us up. We've been here since. Why ain't you in jail? May asked. Celeste took pity on us. Luckily, Asai wasn't having it, but for some reason, Asai listens to her. Even though Asai is the head, Azo answers. Akin stares at her brother and squints. What? That's the most I've ever heard you speak, she says. Well, he wanted, Azo says as he looks at the cell that is now empty and still dark. To know I am still present, Archaeos says. What are you doing? Preparing. So remember how he said he's going to leave the cell eventually and go to the Haven City Park to be picked up? That's what he's preparing for. So, in another break, because we're going back to the other action sequence, Charge is driving Lux, Tech, and Sonaro in the subject's coupe. It's green, rusting, and has occasional problems, but always gets them where they need to go. She's speeding down the street, close to the riverbank. Let me know if you see them, Charge shouts, because Lux is hanging out of the window looking for a couple of gangsters and his mother. He squints and sees something a little in the distance. Up there, he shouts. He climbs back in the car and shouts at Charge. Floor it. I am, she deflects. Lux leans back out the window and charges his right arm. He aims and fires a blast, but it misses. You think their truck is somewhat new? Tech asks. Lux looks at her, then looks back at the truck and squints again. Maybe, he says. Nadia, can you get me a little closer? I have to be in within range, Tech says over the wind that's blowing in. You got it, Roxy. They keep speeding, and because the truck is moving slower than they are, they inch within Tech's electromagnetic pulse range, an EMP. She snaps, and everything around them goes dark. The street lights, the apartment lights, the boat lights. Lux still hangs out of the window and focuses on the truck. It slows and then screeches to a halt with the lights turning off. I don't know if you got them, but they stopped, Lux says. Charge screeches the coupe to a halt. I'll watch Alejandro. You two, be careful, you two. Lux and Tech nod as they pile out of the car. The two guards get out of their car and aim their guns at Lux and Tech. Lux steps in front of Tech with his energy charged. That glowing shit's all nice and all, kid, but can it stop a bullet? One of them says. Bang. Jackie kicks the trunk from the inside. The noise causes both of the guards to look back at it, scaring them, and Lux uses this opportunity to blast the both of them. They both collapse, and Lux walks up to them and holds his palms out, facing them with his hands charging. Hey, Tech says as she nudges Lux. He looks back at her, and she shakes her head. Lux looks at the guards and lowers his hands. He opens the trunk, and Jackie lies on her back with her mouth taped and her hands and feet tied. She makes muffled shouts, and Lux sits her up so she's sitting upright on the edge of the trunk. Lux places his hand on her legs and melts the rope with energy. He does the same to her hands, and she slaps him, then removes the tape from her mouth. Boy, you are about to... Lux hugs her and shuts her up. She hugs him back. Mom, I need you to move. Move? Who the hell is moving? I have my teaching job at the university. Mom, it's not safe here for now. Move up north to the suburbs. There's less crime there. I just need you somewhere else right now. I can't have you in danger anymore, Lux explains. Jackie gives him a look before ever so slightly nodding in approval. Then another break. Eidolon looks around at the Arc base. Pretty dope. It's fascinating, really, Sentry says. Yep, this could be home for the both of you, Seismic says. But we like where we live now, Eidolon explains. The rats and roaches, there's rats and roaches, but there are rats and roaches. Sentry looks up at him and glares before looking back at Seismic. Why do you want us, she asks. Well, didn't you defend yourselves against that crazy elemental chick, Seismic asks. Elemental, Eidolon corrects. It's spelled differently. I tried to pronounce it a little differently, but... And she wiped us out. Granted, we didn't see it coming, but you seemed at ease with someone so strong standing right in front of you, Seismic goes on. She threw rocks at us. tried to kill us. Eidolon adds, though he's smiling. Do you even know what we can do? Sentry asks. I'm actually curious to find out exactly what that is. Come with me, Seismic says. They follow him. You're gonna throw balls at us? Eidolon says. Seismic looks back. What? Nah, nothing like that, he tells him. They walk down the hallway that leads to the training room. Welcome, Seismic, the AI says. Seismic? Eidolon says. My hero name. My hero name. Why that? You'll see in a second. Seismic jogs up to the steps to the control room and presses a button that changes the white room into the same rocky wasteland where he fought Lux. Eidolon and Sentry gasp in amazement. Seismic jogs back down the steps. Yeah, it's pretty advanced. Josh came up with it, Seismic explains. Eidolon and Sentry give him a blank stare. Ice Cap. Their faces don't change. The Blue Tiger. Ah, they both say. Seismic stands on the opposite side of the couple and puts his hands in his pockets. They look at each other, puzzled. Y'all ready? Seismic asks. Are we supposed to be? Eidolon asks. I mean, you don't look ready. The two rocks rise from the ground and float on opposite sides of Seismic. Eidolon holds a hand out. Wait, you're not gonna throw those at us, right? I promised you I wouldn't throw any balls, Seismic informs. These aren't balls. Eidolon and Sentry give a look that says, can you believe this guy? Elemental sigh. Don't spoil anything, but yeah, I know why you're sighing. The rocks shoot at Eidolon and Sentry. Eidolon phases and the rock flies through him. The rock explodes in front of Sentry and the pebbles fall to the ground. The couple high-fives each other, smiling. Seismic smirks as the pebbles levitate and barrage Sentry. Eidolon looks at her and then at Seismic, frowning. Hey, he says. However, before he can say any more, the rock Seismic initially threw hits Eidolon from behind, causing him to fly through the air and land on his face in front of Seismic. Eidolon groans, and before he can even stand, the land he lays on is cut from the ground and brings him up to eye level with Seismic, who smiles at him. Sentry changes the direction of the pebbles and forces them all to stop midair and fall to the ground. She storms towards Seismic, and he throws Eidolon and the floating land he's on behind him. He focuses all his attention on Sentry by ripping and chucking multiple rocks from the ground at her. Each rock explodes on impact of this invisible shield she has created around herself. She tries lifting the ground beneath her feet, but without skipping a beat, she causes the rock to go back in its place. Seismic decides to try one last thing to see if it'll stop her. He raises his fists, and with one combined might of his super strength and terrakinesis, he punches the ground, causing a rocky tidal wave to hurtle towards Sentry. And still, without being phased, she is unaffected. She instead walks right through the middle of the wave. So that's what you can do, Seismic says. I'd like to officially offer you both spots on our team. His words fall on deaf ears as she gives him a look that could pierce through his face. You can each have your own rooms, or a room together if you'd like, he says with a shaky voice. Sentry stands toe-to-toe with him and punches him in the stomach, causing him to go flying across the room into the wall, shaking the base. Seismic groans and sees Sentry help Eidolon back up and walk out of the room. Ardentia comes running and stands at the entrance. She looks at Sentry and Eidolon and sees Seismic lying on the ground. John, she flies over to him. He puts a hand out. I'm all right. Just, man, that girl can punch. He looks back at the entrance to the room as if Sentry is still there, then looks back at Seismic. Ardentia did that. Do you want me to handle her? Seismic sits up. What? No, I said I'm fine. It was kind of my fault. Might have went overboard. Need a different method of testing people's merit. There are other ways for that. Ways that don't involve you getting your butt kicked, she says. I know, I don't know. Easy, Sonaro says as Charge sits him up on the couch. They are back at their apartment, and Charge has been tending to Sonaro since they got back from the hospital. It's still the same night that they helped Lux rescue his mother. Oh, hush, you big dope, she says playfully. Charge says playfully. You act like you've never had broken bones before. Oh, I've had my share of broken bones, amiga. But Just never been punched that hard, Sonara says. No way that guy was normal. You don't normally speak Spanish. What's the occasion? Charge asks. You know, that Spanish is one of the sexiest languages on earth, right? And I happen to be one of the sexiest people, Sonara says. Charge blushes. So? She asks. So, he begins to say before Tech enters the living room from her room. She holds her elbows, her arms close to her chest. You look worried, Roxy, Charge says. Nah, no, I'm fine, she lies. Just worried about Jay. I hope he and his mother are all right now, considering that what they just went through. What she went through. Those bastards. What about their arrests? We saw all but one face, Charge questions. Jay said he's confident they won't come after him or his mother again. He said he severed his ties with them, whatever that means, Tech tells her. He also said that the family has their hands in the pockets of law enforcement. So what about us? Sonara asks. What's to stop them from coming after us? I mean, what if they send that big guy again? Oh, please, you've got me, Charge says. No offense, Nadia, but you didn't exactly stop him, Sonara says, caution in his voice. With Jay's help, she did, Tech corrects. So, you're saying we need to rely on him for protection? Sonara asks. Girls, I don't know how to feel about that. Well, we just have to keep him close, Tech says. I mean, we kind of already are, considering he asked us for help. I know, I know Roxy doesn't mind that, I know Roxy doesn't mind that, Charge says with a coy smile. Tech frowns and opens her mouth to say something, but closes it again and goes back into her room. Charge looks back at Sonaro as he drifts off. She watches TV until she drifts off next to him. And then when we continue, it will be a Charge's backstory. We still have a bit to go in this chapter, so I'm going to end it. Where was I? Okay, I'm going to end it for tonight. Thank you, everybody that stopped by. I always appreciate it. And I will see everybody tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Good night.